Hi folks, welcome to an episode where we have another crazy hair and another day of no care. Thank you for voting for what I should be watching in Tubi. I put a poll up on the community tab. I watched both of those videos and I now have some commentary for you. The first movie that I'll comment on is Sharktopus. Now, seeing that name and the picture on the cover, you would imagine that it's not a good movie. That the acting is kind of bad. And the camera work will be kind of cheesy. You would be correct. But there's two types of bad movies, right? There are the bad movies that you just love to watch, that are hilarious, that you can put in the background of a party and you and whoever can overtalk it and enjoy it and whatever. And then there's just movies that are kind of bad and boring. This is kind of the bad and boring. I was kind of disappointed in that. I was hoping that it would be along the really bad but cheesy ilk, but it wasn't. I'm not going to be too harsh on this movie about the graphics and whatever. The graphics are bad, don't get me wrong. I don't think the CGI at that time was as bad as these graphics. These graphics are pretty harsh. And I had to look up again when this film was made because the camera was so grainy and the images were so grainy and fuzzy and whatever. And when I saw that it was later than what I was originally thinking, I was like, oh, okay. So this is the type of movie that it is. Totally fine. If it's fun, bring it on. It was not fun. It was, what's the fly doing in here? It's mid-November. Why are they still alive? I don't know. Anyway, watching this movie, the camera work seemed inconsistent. So there were times where the camera was really shaky and really hard to focus on the people that were talking. And at other times, it was perfectly fine. So I'm not sure if there were different types of cameras that were working on this film or if there were different people. I'm not sure what was going on there. But anyway, the good thing about this film is it's kind of filmed in an after-school special way. The music, the types of shots that you get and whatever. And the very beginning seems very after school special. Like it seemed very, here's the title card, here's a bunch of pictures of roller coasters, here's a bunch of people having fun on the beach, that kind of thing. And that's the kind of movie that it is. So I didn't get the fun movie and I didn't get a serious movie. So I was like, it was hard for me to kind of pick this film apart because I didn't know what lens I should pick this movie apart with. So I will say, as far as a horror movie goes, I did see the Sharktopus too much. And that's where the graphics being bad really comes in, because if you see the monster too much and it looks kind of crummy, then the horror of the situation, you're kind of taken out of it. I do understand, because of the mix of the animal, that you have a shark and octopus together, that you might need to see the animal a little bit more to see how everything is pieced together and what this thing can do and whatever. So I totally understand why it would need to be shown. The kills themselves were almost too quick for me. And they weren't really funny. There were some ha moments when it came to that person's gonna die or that person's gonna die or whatever. Like when you know that they're setting up a scene for carnage. You know, there was some things like that, but I didn't get like the satisfaction of the kills. They just kind of happened. And then I was like, oh, well, that was too bad. One thing that this film did have in abundance was sex appeal. Although it was definitely for the male gaze. I mean, there were lots of women in lots of skimpy bathing suits and whatever. A lot of the men had shorts and a tank top on. Not really sure how that works. I'm pretty sure the last time I was at a beach, a lot of the men were topless, and that's totally fine. But yeah, other than the main male character who had an 8-pack and was topless most of the time, you saw a lot of women's bodies, but not a lot of men's bodies. Just want to say, but the movie did a good job in portraying the beautiful holiday. Unfortunately, I don't know what setting I would see this movie again. I don't think I would. I don't think that it was fun enough. If I had it on during a party, it would have to be at the end of a party. It would have to be when everybody's kind of partied out, it's kind of winding down, and we're just putting on a show, and everybody is well into their cups and doesn't really care what's on screen and isn't really gonna be able to follow a plot really well. It's a movie that can be put on for that. But as a background, it doesn't have a lot of visuals and a lot of fun moments that it could be just a background thing that every once in a while somebody looks at and points to. As well as I don't think it could be fun enough for, you know, having a couple buddies over and pointing at laughing at different situations in the movie. So that's how I feel there. So yeah, I don't think I'll watch this again. However, I will say, however, it apparently is a trilogy. Apparently, there are 2 other films that I could watch as well. And let me know if that is of interest to you. I am not opposed to watch the other 2 to see what utter hilarity. Just because this one kind of flopped for me doesn't mean that the other 2 won't bring a cheesy factor and a corny factor to them that I probably would enjoy them. Let me know if that's of interest to you, because I can talk about those too, and they're all on Tubi. The next movie that I wanted to talk about is The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. Now, this was a Dario Argento movie. It's a Italian giallo movie, I believe. And it was made in the 70s and apparently adapted by a book called, and I'm going to look at my notes here, The Screaming Mimi. I haven't read that book, but let me know if you have. Apparently it was a pulp book. I'm not sure when it was published. I was kind of amazed by this movie. I very much enjoyed it, but I was amazed by how it was rated. I was looking up the rating for this movie, and I kept coming upon a PG rating. Now, I'm not sure if I was doing something wrong here, but I thought that it was a little bit dark for a PG movie. And there are times where it's implied that there's SA, and that to me would increase the rating. But I don't know. Around that time to kind of the early 90s, there was some stuff that came out that was kind of freaky. And in a lower rating. So you can let me know if I'm incorrect with this. This is just what I was able to find. I really liked the score to this movie. Now, the score to this movie it matched what was happening on screen really well. So if there was a chase, then it was kind of a higher tempo. And if we were kind of waiting for something to happen, whether it was a suspense moment or whatever, it was creepy. It had, I think, some vocalizations from women, it sounded like. It was just really interesting to hear. And I think that it was definitely improvement to the movie. Unlike the other movie in this video, it had really crisp and clean videography. It didn't have any issues with the movement of the camera or anything like that. But I think that might be intentional. I mean, the other one kind of looked like a home movie. This one was a very polished production, and it did look like it was that. I wouldn't say that this movie is good for if you were at a party or if you wanted to overtalk the entire thing. I think it was a good movie to actively watch. I think it was a good movie to try to follow and figure out who done it and all that. But yeah, in that vein, I don't think in a fun context of a party and whatever that you would see it unless everybody else wanted to watch the movie too. And it was that kind of vibe. I don't think I'll watch it again, even though I very much enjoy it and very much do recommend it. I think that because I know who done it and because it is an active watching movie, I don't think I will. I usually have crochet or something else going on. So as a once through, it worked well, but I don't think having it again, I don't really see myself picking it up. Although if somebody did want to watch it, they hadn't watched it yet, and they did want to watch it, I would recommend it, and I would watch it with them. So there you have it. That is 2 movies that I saw recently. You can let me know what your opinions were of these movies if you've watched them. Do you plan to watch them? That's the other thing you could let me know. In the meantime, I will put another poll up on my community tab when it comes to movies that I've seen on Tubi, and I just need to kind of get your opinion about what I should watch and maybe talk about next. So in the meantime, I hope you're having the best day that you can in the circumstances you find yourself in today, and I will talk to you later.